Welcome to the Monetize Your Payments podcast, where we cover the entire payment facilitator ecosystem. If you are a SaaS company, ISV, or a marketplace interested in monetizing your payments, this podcast is for you. You will learn what it takes to monetize your payments, as well as find the vendors, suppliers, and organizations that will help you succeed. You are going to hear success stories, lessons learned, and advice from all sides and all angles across the payment facilitator ecosystem.
Our largest predominant sports organizations like U.S. Soccer, Little League, Pop Warner, Little Scholars rely on us to provide that technology solution to run their organizations, both from a front-facing, consumer-facing, which like registration, their website, as well as those back-end services or back-end like managing rosters, compliance, very huge today. Let's keep the kids safe.
Hi, Brandon. Thank you for being here and welcome to the Monetize Your Payments podcast.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here today.
Great. Well, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, maybe where you grew up, where you went to school, where you currently live, a few things like that.
Sure. Well, I was born in Houston, Texas, but really raised in Austin, Texas, keeping things weird through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Spent a lot of time in New York City. My parents were split, so I spent a lot of time in the Upper East Side in New York. So kind of had an interesting upbringing going from kind of the weird Austin and definitely going to the weirder New York City. So I was the typical Center Texas college, wanted to go to University of Texas, ended up at Texas State or Southwest Texas when I started down there. And really my focus there ended out with applied arts and sciences, but really focus was around mathematics and physics. How much do I use that today? Zero, except for a lot of math. But, really spent most of my time here in Texas. I've got a family here in North Dallas, actually in Plano, with my wife, Laura, and my newly minted daughter, 1 month old, of Atlas Adeline. So excited and sleep deprived over this last month.
Well, congratulations on the baby.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. And so you are currently the VP of Product Management and Strategy at Stack Sports. So we'll talk about Stack Sports in a minute. Let's talk about your roles and responsibilities. Maybe start with when you started your career there at Stack Sports and kind of go through that transition to where you are today.
Sure. I was brought on in early 2017 as Director of Product Management, really owning our club league and team software business from a product standpoint. So really what does that mean is I own the roadmap and had a small team for the kind of 4 or 5 acquisitions that at the time Blue Star Sports, now Stack Sports, really just trying to grow that business and see how we integrate those solutions together. We've, in the last 4 years, Stack Sports has gone through 30 different acquisitions. I came in around number 5, so I definitely have the wear and tear of the M&A aggressive strategy, but really enjoyed watching our company grow from both an acquisition standpoint and organically. And in 2019, I took a sales leader role within the organization. And really the goal there was to kind of focus our sales teams on a customer and product focused sales approach. So less about hey, here's a discount, but more about selling the value of what we bring to our clients and ensure that, our clients have a good understanding of how we help their organization. And then from there, kind of moving into late 2019 and into early 2020, we had some executive leadership change. And with that change, I was named the Vice President of Product globally. So ultimately, I own our product strategy globally with how we approach the market, consolidated roadmaps that includes our payments platform, and really serve as that conduit between our chief executive team and our product teams, right? Because often you don't want that single voice of just go do what a chief exec wants, but I'm able to filter that and ensure that our product teams are holding ourselves accountable to the company vision while still serving our clients. And then my favorite part is mentoring the next generation of our product leaders. I have some amazing product managers, product directors here at Stack, and really seeing how I can help them to their next role here and then eventually somewhere else.
Okay, great. So let's talk about Stack Sports. Tell the audience what Stack Sports does.
Absolutely. Stack Sports is a global technology leader. We're a SaaS platform offering kind of the sports industry from cradle to grave, as I like to say, over 50 million users, 35 countries, right? So we have offices around the world. What our software does is we provide services to support our national governing bodies like U.S. Soccer, NFL Flag, Little League, youth sports organizations, leagues, clubs, parents, coaches, athletes, right? So we're trying to attack the entire market. Again, like our largest predominant sports organizations like U.S. Soccer, Little League, Pop Warner, Little Scholars rely on us to like provide that technology solution to run their organizations, both from a front-facing, consumer-facing, which like registration, their website, as well as those back-end services or back-end like managing rosters, compliance, very huge today. Let's keep the kids safe. So having integrations into organizations like Safe Sport to ensure that coaches and volunteers are certified to be able to help coach and grow our youth. We're headquartered in Dallas with our kind of offices in Atlanta, Denver, San Diego, and Melbourne, Australia. And really what we're trying to do for the market is focus on our three key pillars, which are play, improve, and engage, which is then going to increase the participation in sports overall.
Okay, and you guys do some things around, I think, racing. Maybe there's some online registration around racing, whether that's, I think, endurance racing and a few other things.
Yeah, so you think about similar to some of our others in the market of like your fun runs, your 5Ks, 10Ks, and marathons. So we're very strong in the registration space, which will kind of lead to where we kind of talk about like the payments element of it. But really with the endurance market, we are giving them a simplified solution. But with that, though, is the timing element behind it, right? So you have your registration of your athlete that's coming in that wants to run. But really what closely pairs with it is the timing, right? Because a lot of competitive runners, they need their time. It's how they qualify for marathons and future events. So we have regional timing services that we've partnered or purchased that allows us to go set up on site at the races timing services where they have like a chip that they wear on their bib, tied to their shoe. And as they're running, we're getting down to the millisecond of how quick they're running by each individual kind of check mark along the way.
Okay, great. Well, as the name of the podcast indicates, we're going to be talking about payments. So let's go ahead and dive into that part of the business. Maybe talk a little bit about what Stack Sports does to help your customers with payments.
Sure. What we do is really just bring an integrated solution to our clients. And that's through the registration of athletes to be able to collect their funds in a timely manner while also managing their team and club with a reporting suite, right? Is because we own the process from beginning to end, we're able to track where a dollar that gets batched and deposited into their account, which athlete that actual dollar came from. And again, our goal is just to simplify and allow our organizations to spend less time in software and more time what's important, which is the athletes. Our market's unique in which that most of the people we're dealing with are volunteers. So I want them in our software solutions for the minimal amount of time as possible. Because if they're in there a long time, that's time away from families and time away from the athletes. And because we kind of have that soup to nuts approach, we're able to kind of save them that time while still giving them the very clear reporting and being able to watch the flow of cash.
Okay, maybe to bring it down a level, maybe give a real example of what people would pay for.
Sure. So what they're paying for with Stack Sports or for our registration, because we have multiple lines of businesses, is what they're paying for is, they get a website solution through us. So we build them a website, and that goes from a very templated website all the way through a custom, highly custom. So we built for U.S. Soccer, their DA, we built their website, right? So that is all the stats going to it, giving them the ability to update their content, but having something that's slick and modern and also mobile responsive. What's also is, integrated into that is directly the registration. So when our clients want to open up registration and start registering athletes and collecting funds, it's something as easy as a click, right? And so we have default registration kind of flows, but they're able to customize those depending on what maybe some national governing body requirements where they're like U.S. Soccer, they're required to register to FIFA. So ensuring that, if they have a current FIFA ID, they put that in. We're able to check that directly with FIFA International or register them through that process. Included with that is, compliance modules. So that's coaches and volunteers. They're all background checked. There's local laws and restrictions on, what type of background check, additional checks, if there's county, national, state level. We're able to do all of that for them, still within that same solution. But really getting to the action is where rostering those athletes, managing and scheduling games and practices, ensuring that, both teams have eligible players. Eligible players can come down to, are they age verified? In today's environment, having kind of a COVID health checklist that they have to go through ahead of time. And even some organizations going as far as even having some testing done. And we're tracking kind of that health check through that testing as well. And then lastly is stats, right? So you look at video and stats. We have a video platforms that be able to take video from the field and allow coaches and club personnel to analyze the video and then pass that back down to the athletes. Now that's more on like an elite level, right? But we want to be able to offer that solution from kind of your more casual athlete all the way through a very competitive. And honestly, our product game plan is in the hands of 22 different Major League Baseball teams. So we also working our way into that kind of professional market as well.
Okay. And which came first, payments or the software?
Ooh, that's a trick one. I'm going to say that knowing the background of where Blue Star, now Stack Sports, came from, I think the idea came from how do we find a unique way to attack the payments market with the painful need of registering for kids for like clubs and leagues was very painful. A lot of it's very segmented. So I think it was a combination of being able, knowing the background of our co-founders very strong in the payments market and saying, hey, we have a need in sports to be able to have an integrated, simple solution. So I think it's probably going to come more from payments came first, and then let's go attack a sports market. But I like to think at the end of the day, our job was to simplify, and then payments found it an easy way for us to monetize that sports platform.
Okay. How important would you say payments is to the overall business?
It's key to our business. We're able to provide our clients and our partners a solution that allows them to pay for their sports software through our payments platform. With that, you get into your standard SaaS pricing where they're paying monthly or large yearly fees. And that becomes tough for these, nonprofit organizations or small clubs that are really just trying to grow. And being able to do it through payments, it allows them to know upfront what a cost is, and they're able to absorb it. And in some instances, they pass it down to the registrant, but it just eliminates the need to have kind of this exuberant SaaS pricing model. Without it, I strongly believe, I don't think we would be where we're at today.
Okay. And in your model today, and since you were on the sales side, let's talk a little bit about the sales aspect, if you don't mind. So when you go out to an existing club to try to get them on the software, what is that sort of sales conversation like?
Yeah, as they look at how they approach, it's really going into getting to know their organization first. It's getting kind of allowing them to kind of lower the barrier a bit and like, let's be real about what are the pain points you have today? Are there gaps in what you have? Because everybody's doing something, right? Like you could have somebody using one of our competitors. Sure. You have some that are using like Excel documents, right? And so they're either doing call-ins or collecting cash on the field, or you still have paper signups, right? And, where you have people still coming to a field and signing up in person on paper like we did when I was playing youth sports. So it's really getting down to what are the pain points. From there, then you start to build a value, right? The whole idea is to see what that pain point is and then how we fit. And then also really, because we don't want to trash the competition. Our competition is great. It keeps us up to snuff. It allows us to push the envelope, but we need to figure out like what are the gaps that they have either with our competitor or in their current process and how we simplify it. And then lastly, really the approach of allowing us to eliminate or very aggressively lower the cost of a software solution through payments. And I think what they often find is many of our competitors in the market, they may not have as aggressive as a relationship with the banks as we do. So their margins aren't going to be as great at a lower rate where we're able to give some savings to our clients while also giving them software along with it. With the combination of that, I think that's really where we're able to resonate with our clients. But it all comes back to what's the value? How do we serve and fill the need and the gap in their process today?
Okay. And when you talk about the SaaS model, are you charging a monthly fee for the software and then payments is a standard 2.0 $7, $9, and 30 cents, or how is it sort of priced?
Yeah, so we don't do a monthly model for our registration software, like some of our video and like a recruiting software. So we have a recruiting platform that helps high school athletes get recruited into universities. Those have monthly fees, but those are more down to the end user, not with the organization. With our kind of core business of like club and league management, no monthly fees, right? So it is all about, it's a percentage, and then there's a per transaction charge, which is really where we build up the kind of the SaaS. That's really your SaaS fee, right? So we're monetizing on the payments, but then having a per action or per item charge, which is very standard today. But again, because of our rates, we're able to keep that low and then still pay for the software.
Okay. So yeah, that's one of the things I like to uncover is sort of the pricing strategy and the pricing model, because there's certainly several different ways you can go with that. So it's interesting to hear sort of your model and your perspective. Let's have a scenario or talk about a scenario where you're going out and talking to an organization that maybe already has a payment processor. What is that kind of conversation like, and how is it to sort of port over existing merchants or organizations that are already tied to a payment processor?
Yeah, I think what we often encounter is that the competitors that we're going up against are similar solutions to us, right? So they're another sports software company that is monetizing payments in some way. But I think what we end up finding is there's a nuance where they add on a SaaS fee, or there's a big upcharge up front, or like a yearly fee. There's some nuance there that differentiates us. And again, I think it's where you build around value. Most of our competitors don't own the payments platform that's then processing, right? They're integrated into, a PayPal, a Stripe, or et cetera. And as they're going through and doing that, they're not able to give that end-to-end kind of audit view of where the dollars move. And so as you get in and start building value, you start talking to like the finance person or the president of the organization, and where you're able to kind of hang your hat on, hey, we're able to show you where the dollars move from. So from an audit compliance standpoint, they really love that. But with that, being able to deliver just a best-in-class sports solution. Now, that was very markety. I know that. When it comes down to payments, at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to rate, right? So how do we approach and get a good understanding of what they're paying today? Many organizations will tell us that. Some will not. And I think that majority will at least give us a rough idea of what they're paying today and how our rates will compare. We're an open book. We're not here to, we don't hide additional fees. You're paying your flat rate plus an per item. Some organizations are an interchange plus, and then a per item. But again, what we want to do is be transparent to them. So we go into rate wars with them. I just think I find in general across the board, our standard rates are lower than many of what our competitors are charging. So it's less of a conversation.
Sure. And I would assume the customer experience is one of the most important selling points.
It has to be, right? I mean, it's reporting. Don't get me wrong. Have we had bumps along the road? Absolutely. I mean, who hasn't? But I think we have to focus on what's the service and the experience we give to our clients. That's not only within the software, but also outside of like who they're talking to, who their account manager, the support representative that you're talking to. When you have a payments, question or need clarification, being able to talk to somebody that knows the payments platform. So, we have a dedicated payments team that allows us to, as people have very specific, and it really comes to larger organizations that need that additional help and hand holding. We have a team that's dedicated just to them to be able to answer those questions and resolve any issues they may have.
Okay. And are you guys considered, I would assume, the merchant of record?
No. So we do a couple different models here. We do both merchant of record, but then we also have where our clients are, where they're basically sub-merchants. So we do both. And the reason for that approach is a lot of it comes down to compliance, how much volume you're moving to how quick we can onboard clients. But for the most part, I think the majority of our organizations, the individual mid or like the merchant of record is really down to our clients and not ourselves.
Okay. And in sort of the payments space, there's a lot of legal requirements. There's obviously risk in payments, from the transaction risks to reputational risk if anything goes wrong. Fraud and security play a big role, including PCI. So how do you guys manage those issues? And during, I'm sure, all these platforms being pulled together, as you were a big part of that, how did you guys kind of view those things?
Yeah, it's really carefully. So, we have a payments team internal that is kind of on the operational side that keeps an eye on our accounts, fraud, overall risk in general. We have obviously a legal team that closely works with us to make sure that we're in compliance. Any changes in the industry that pop up, we're able to adhere to those new updates. I think it's one it's always in the back of my head. Right. The way we kind of have our tech and product team for payments is we have them kind of segmented on their own. And the reason being is really want them hyper focused on only payments. What are the things that we need to be able to ensure that we're in compliance, that, for any audits from as a company standpoint or external that we're able to adhere to. But in general, it's something that's always ever ongoing. I kind of feel I didn't really answer, but I don't have a perfect answer. It's a tough one. It's something that we have to continuously have to focus on. We're, always looking to how do we expand out our fraud teams? How do we lower risk? Working closely with our banks and partners from the actual processing side of like, hey, what do we need to do to ensure that we're lowering risk, and work very closely with them. I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to communication, internal and external. How do we ensure that we're all on the same page so that way if changes are needed because of either an industry change, a law change, or something legal coming, that we're able to adjust and make sure we're doing what's best for Stack, but ultimately what's best for our clients and partners.
Sure. What would you say is the most painful part of having the integrated payment solution?
Probably the multiple platforms for us. Like I mentioned earlier, we've gone through 30 acquisitions, and out of the 30, I'm going to say payments is integrated into at least 20 of them. So what that means is ultimately with one payments platform, my biggest stakeholder is internal. Right? How do I ensure that any change that's made on our payments platform, that all of our other platforms are able to adhere? And we also do integrations external with other partners. Like we've got like fanware partners that we integrate with external, where they're doing processing external and they're utilizing our software to be able to run their payments. So really, as we look at the iteration of the platforms and payments, of making sure that everybody is accounted for, we're communicating to ensure there's no gaps, and having our payments platform at that 99.99% uptime to pass on that great service.
Okay. And one thing I've noticed that is, I don't know if it's unique, but I definitely wanted to bring it up, is you guys have branded Stack Pay as your payments product. So what was sort of the thought process behind creating its own sort of brand name and sort of has its own website and marketing? What was sort of the thought behind that?
Sure. It's really on how we look at our payments platform and face external. Right. And so we monetize our StackPay platform outside of Stack Sports as well. So we have external platforms and organizations that integrate into StackPay as their processor, and we're processing their transactions on behalf of them. So what we wanted to do is really have a platform that could stand on its own and be marketed. And so we have a business development team that looks out and finds other sports organizations that could use either cheaper rate, simplified integration, while delivering kind of margins to both of us. Because, a lot of your other larger, your cookie cutter, I won't say names, but cookie cutter payment platforms, the rates are a bit high. And when you get organizations that are trying to process $50 million, $100 million, $250 million, they can sometimes get a break, but it's often not where we can help them land. And so those are the partners we look for. So we wanted a platform that was branded on its own that we could pitch and sell through.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that explanation. Well, we've covered a lot so far. Any final thoughts or things you'd like to share, whether that's about integrating or monetizing payments or anything related to Stack Sports that you care to share?
Yeah, COVID was an interesting, 2020 and the COVID year is an interesting year for us. I think what we get excited about is that even through COVID in 2020, Stack Sports continues to grow, both domestically and internationally. I'm really excited to see what kind of this post-COVID environment looks like. Payments was huge. You look at the payments industry, it grew. Where everybody else was shrinking and cutting, you had a lot of payments industry as a whole. You're seeing a higher volume of payments come through. So yes, you saw some economies take the hit, but the kind of online payment space has been exploding. And so as we look to 2021, how do we go look at an environment in which people are more remote? Online payments are more pertinent. But on top of that, you have all these kids and athletes stuck in the house for the last 8, 12 months. And now they're getting out for the first time as we're getting into 2021, hopefully. And as we look to that, how do we attack that challenge and allow ourselves to grow and monetize on, I think, what I strongly believe is going to be a huge outdoor and kind of athlete growth while still adjusting some of our solutions for like remote learning, remote coaching. And so I think all in all, I'm filled with optimism of where we're going as a company, but also as kind of a sports field of, yes, it's a new environment. Sometimes it can be scary, but it's all in a mindset. And I believe here at Stack Sports, we are in a great position to be able to positively impact our organizations while still helping our company grow both from a product standpoint and financially. And I definitely appreciate your time.
Oh, absolutely. So 30 acquisitions, another 10 coming up next year?
Man, I wish I could tell you. And I wish I actually knew the key answer. Acquisition will always be part of our strategy. That ain't stopping. So I think as we continue to grow, there'll be continued opportunities. And COVID has exposed some opportunities for us to make some of those acquisitions. So time will tell, but let's talk next year and I'll let you know.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate your time and everything you've shared today. What would be the best way for people to learn more about Stack Sports?
Absolutely. Just head over to stacksports.com. And for our kind of league management, which is, again, the core of our business, to sportsconnect.com are best ways to find out more about us. And drop us a line. We have some forms on there for you. We'll reach out.
Okay. Thank you so much, Brandon. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Greg. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Monetize Your Payments podcast. Make sure you visit our website at monetizeyourpayments.com, where you can subscribe to the show and where you will find our show notes. If you would like to be on the show or have a suggestion for a guest, please email greg@monetizeyourpayments.com.